I'll let you know. Okay, good.
All right, then I will call us to order at 5:03 or 5:03. And I will read our land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on stolen homelands of the Pamonga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tongva is referred to as Tawangar, which includes areas currently known as the Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the United States government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tongva peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural and linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tongva people, present and past, through our collection, development, resources, and program offerings. Okay. Alrighty, are there any items to be added to the closed session agenda? All right, then can I have a motion to approve the closed session agenda items?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So Catalina, this is on here twice, approval and then adoption. So then we move that we adopt the closed session agenda as well?
It's approval of reordering of the agenda items, so
Mhm.
we've already adopted.
Okay,
Yeah. So
thank you. Is there any closed session public comment?
There is none.
All right, then may I have a motion for us to move into closed session?
I move we move into closed section.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the Board of Trustees will recess into closed session at 5:06 PM.
Okay.
Okay. We will reconvene back into open session at 5:25. There is no reportable action from closed session. So we will next move to our roll call. Trustee Green,
Here.
that's one. Trustee Sanders.
Here.
Trustee Cart. Here. Trustee Chappelle.
Here.
And of course, I am here. Is there any reordering of the agenda items? No? Okay. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as it is? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Awesome. All right, so we move to our consent calendar. Can I have a motion to approve the consent calendar? So moved.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Awesome, okay. Next, we will move to department updates and special presentations. We'll start with department update reports. Anyone have any comments on the department reports that we received in our agenda packet? No? Okay, I just have one then. I wanted to say, the outreach with the teens. I was just talking to a group about how challenging it is outreaching to teens and getting them involved in things and stuff. I think it was a really awesome idea to go out to them at the school. Seemed like you all were going out to, looks like you went to PHS, to find them where they are. So I like that. That was it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought that was really a great program.
Mhm.
It engages kids. Earlier, a completely unrelated statistic I heard on the radio thing, on probably NPR. The average number of books that people read in a year in the United States now is 2, which seems pretty low to me. So getting people, reading in schools and stuff is a good way to go.
2. Seems impossible. Okay, no other comments or questions. We'll go on to support groups. We had a report in the packet from the Altadena Library Foundation. Are there any questions or comments on that report? No? All right, then we will move to our administrative updates. Ashley and Nikki.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll be presenting the administrative update this evening. And I'll kick things off by giving a staffing update. So we have no new hires, no promotions, but we do have one resignation. And that is from Jonathan Arevalo, who was our facilities manager for over 6 years. So his last day with us was January 5th, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. We are looking forward to the recruitment for this position. It has posted on our website on January 18th, and we plan to do a first round of review of applicants by mid-February. So please spread the word and encourage them to go to our website to apply. On the marketing front, we are finalizing the annual report and year-end video. And that will help develop community awareness for the libraries and also remind the community about the building projects. We also had a segment air on KCAL where the vending machines were highlighted. So special thank you to Kara Finstrom. Nikki shared that out to you all. We were very excited to get that press. And then furthermore, last Friday, we filmed a 3-piece segment about the vending machines and other innovations that, when that airs, we hope to show you that as well. So lots of good press all around. I won't go into too much detail about the next update because you all were here for it, which was the annual retreat for the board. Took place on January 12th. And the focus was on the building projects and the 2024 elections. And during this retreat, you all unanimously approved the design documents for main library. So thank you for that. And looking forward to tomorrow morning where hopefully we can just continue the ball rolling on our renovation project. So tomorrow, 9 a.m., hope to see many folks there as well as you all. All right, so second Saturday is back. It took a break in December, it's back in January, and so we're full steam ahead through June. Aside from second Saturday, I had the pleasure of attending the Rotary Holiday event in December, where the club thanked us for our efforts with their summer concert series. We helped with the marketing, the band selections. We also attend all of the concerts and more. So it was a very wonderful and cheerful event, as you can see from the photo. My next update is about building equity-based summers, which you will always probably see in the administrative update for the next few months. We had the first of 3 community conversations on the 10th. We had the second one this past Friday on the 19th, and we have one more on the 31st of this month. Finn and I were also interviewed by the State Library's BEVS team, because they put out a monthly podcast on this subject. So we were really excited to be chosen to be interviewed. So once that interview comes, I hope to share that with you all as well. And last but not least, they continue to want our support through BEVS. So they asked me to join their co-facilitation team for a short period of time to help other libraries make changes to their summer services. So I'm really excited about joining the team. Next, I want to give an update about lunch at the library. We previously reported about this, and since the last report, they have updated our award amount to $46,750, which we're really excited about because we have lots of plans for all of that money. We've already submitted our budget. We hope to bring on 2 teen interns, provide lots of enrichment for youth Monday through Friday, including helping them build home libraries through a project we will be doing on Fridays, where for attending, they get a free book for the entire 8 weeks. So at the end, each family should have a mini library of at least 8 books from us. So lots more coming, but that starts the first week of June.
Cool.
Actually, can I just ask?
Yeah.
So is it, like, is the food side of it just kind of a way to, like, enhance the programming and get more people in? Or is it meant to be, like, food focused in some way?
Both, actually.
okay.
One side of it is to provide meals to families that over the summer, they're used to getting their meals from school lunch. But then over the summer, when they're at home, sometimes these families do not have meals. And we did do some research to find out if there were lunch services nearby, because summer lunch at the library has been around for quite some time. So I didn't know if nearby places were doing it, because schools can do it, recreation centers can do it. And we didn't have anyone near to this library doing it. So I figured there's obviously a need. And there was also a stat that I saw where over 70% of children in Altadena schools have at least registered for free or reduced lunch. So whether or not they really need it, I know people say, Altadena tends to be a little more affluent, but according to that stat,
70%.
over 70 have applied for free or reduced lunch. So there is a need. So the program will fulfill that need. And then the flip side is that we don't want to just have it about the food. We want to give them experiences that they wouldn't get on their own. So we're going to bring in different performers and try to be different from what you typically see from us in the summer. We're going to use this money to provide some different experiences. So really excited about this. So aside from lunch at the library, the Southern California Library Cooperative and the State Library have awarded the district with 4 hiking backpacks. And I'm excited about these because they come with some really pool contents. So in addition to us putting, the parks passes in the backpacks, they will get cool things like a pocket microscope, a mosquito head net, binoculars, all, like, there's a list of really cool things they'll get for free in the backpack that they can check out. So we will be receiving 4 of those soon, so I'll be sure to provide an update once those are in circulation. And then last but not least, the personal notes from Nikki and I just want to send a special congratulations to her for completing her master's degree from Claremont Lincoln University. We are so proud of her, and we were glad that we got to celebrate a little bit with her before her commencement in June. So kudos to you, Nikki.
Thank you.
And then my personal note was just a final look at 2023 and then a first look into 2024. And what I did not share is that while I made 15 years with my husband, I should have shared that I also celebrated 2 years with the district. So our anniversary is the 3rd. My anniversary here is the 4th. So I'm happy to be celebrating 2 years with you all.
Happy anniversary on all accounts.
That was a great photo too, but.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley.
I will point out, thank you for doing the report, because I sound awful. She's just so much more eloquent anyway, but I also added volunteer hours to the stat sheet. We've required that the adult volunteers are now tracking, so I think it's gonna be one number, we'll see how it goes, but that's the total number for teens, adult, friends.
We didn't have an estimate for funds.
Okay, so no friends estimate, but we will be reporting out volunteers. And did I add one other?
The Friends did talk about that in their meeting this month. So they are talking about making sure they start signing in and
Yeah.
keeping track of that better.
Yeah, we're supposed to be tracking, like, part of the state survey that we enter, you have to enter volunteer hours, and we've just been guesstimating it these last couple of years. So we're hoping to have accurate stats that we'll be bringing to you every month as well. And I did include the self-service, so Open Plus, and, the other one I threw in here, oh, the vending machine usage will also be in there too. So
Great.
continue to add, if you see other things you want to know, staff on, just let me know.
Thank you. All right. Any additional questions on the administrative update? All right, financial reports for November and December. Will that be
We
you?
have Christy here. Yay.
All right. Hello, Christy.
She up there?
Okay, can you hear me now? Sorry, my button, it's not letting, I'm unmuted, but I can't seem to find the camera. I don't know what's going on here. Sorry, it was hidden by, sorry about that. It was hidden by the recording bar that I hadn't okayed. All right, so what I'll do tonight for financials is you've got November and December in the packet. So what I'll do is focus on December, but just mention some of the things that have increased between the 2 months. At the last board meeting, the audit was adopted. So that was great. That took care of last year. Now we're midway through the year and you're in great shape. The best or the most noticeable difference between November and December is for your revenue, and that is property taxes. So the County of LA of Los Angeles has allocated your property taxes and you are at 97%. And that's pretty typical. Throughout the year, there will be additional assessments and some supplemental income that comes in. So we expect that number to go up over the 100% mark, but we're right on. And so that's revenue. And then you've got a couple other lines. Your interest, if you look between November and December, rose as well. That's at 71% of budget. And that, again, is primarily due to the investing in class. You're earning over 5%, actually closer to 6% at the moment. And we'll talk about what those dollars mean in cash when we get to the balance sheet. Other revenue doesn't come in till year end or toward the end of the year. It is, most of that is your E-rate and some other miscellaneous items, so we're not worried about that line. When you look at expenses, the total expenses moved from November to December to about 52%. So you're right on target in total. If you look at them against categories, again, right on target with salaries and benefits at 51%. Operating looks to be over a little bit right now at 70%, but that has to do more with the timing. One item which we mention every meeting is that your insurance valuation came in a little higher. So that line is over, and we'll probably do some adjusting when we talk in the next couple of months about mid-year budget. Tax collection is a little bit over, but that's good. If you're paying a little more, it means your taxes are over a little more. I think the percentage, we've always budgeted about 2%. It looks like it's a little over 2%. So we'll probably start adjusting that moving forward as well. Memberships, you've got the other operating line is at 62%. And again, that's just because of timing. You've got some memberships that have already been paid through the end of the year. So that will level out the remaining part of the year. If you move to professional services, we're under at 45%. And that has to do again with a lot of it's timing, but the good news here is your legal's under what has been budgeted. So that is also helping that number stay down. Information technology between November and December, you're now up to 53%. And that has to do with your maintenance fees. They show 93% because several of them have been paid for the entire fiscal year. So again, that's another one of your lines that will definitely level out. Library materials, just a little bit under, again, mostly due to timing. Some of those do not occur yet. I think we've got some activity in January for the mobile library collection. So that line you'll see increasing a little bit. And then your programming, right on target there, I guess just a little bit ahead. And that's primarily due to the adult services line, which we will be recommending an adjustment there at mid-year. There were some things I believe that were budgeted that didn't quite make it to the budget. But overall, at this point in time, you are making an addition to the reserve. You're up over $2 million. Of course, that will go down. If you spend every dollar in your budget, it's about 2.1 million, which would imply if you got no other revenue, you'd be taking 100,000 from the reserve. But we know we're going to make up that 100,000 in additional property taxes, interest, and other revenue. So at this point in time, you would be right on target with what you've budgeted. There are some considerations, some things that haven't been made yet that you'll be talking about as a board in the coming months. And one of them goes back to that discretionary payment for your CalPERS to pay down that liability. So there will be some discussion. I would recommend in the next couple months to decide if that is something you still want to fund or if you want to divert those monies perhaps to something in the capital project or others. So we'll talk about that moving forward. Any questions on general fund before I move to the grant? Any specific questions on lines or where we're at?
I have a question, although it's probably more for staff. I'm just curious, in line 27, that's our utilities line item. The variance report says that we're under budget due to much lower gas bills than expected, which is great. I'm just curious, like, why that is. Do we have any idea? Okay.
I would like to know as well, my gas bill has been extremely low. Last year, it shocked us. And this year, my personal gas bill, even though we've been running the furnace, has been low. So I don't know either. And I've seen this across other clients where we really budgeted for those increases and we just haven't seen them. So.
Okay.
It's called TR.
Great.
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for that one.
No,
I had
that's
a
great.
question as well regarding the class shares that we bought. And that is that they seem to keep rolling along at these pretty high interest rates by most accounts. So I'm wondering, is there some headwind or something in the general economy that would slow down the growth of that fund? And if there is, have we taken steps or do we know the steps to kind of battle that?
Yes, and I do believe as we see interest rates dropping in the next year, especially up, as we get closer to the election and around that time, I think we're going to start to see them level off. If that occurs, we will go back to perhaps what we'll consider is investing some money in LAIF, which is a local investment fund, because they hold things. The reason you're capturing as much as you are with class right now is because they don't hold anything. Their maturities, they don't hold anything that's due beyond 60 days. So it's all interest. Where LAIF has a little bit longer short-term approach. And so what we'll do is probably recommend that you take a portion of that at least and move it to LAIF, which I believe is already in your investment policy. You already have the authority to do it. You just haven't done that yet. But we're letting you ride it as long as you can. But I do think too that they're going to go back down.
Thank you.
If we look at grants, not a lot going on there. The activity here typically happens the last quarter. All of your revenue has been actually collected, which is good news. All the foundations, all your other sources have contributed the funds. You're just now spending them down. So wages that they support are right on target. However, there are a couple of other lines that some of the programming doesn't occur until the second part of the year. So you'll start to see those increase, and that's typical each year. A couple of lines that will probably adjust at mid-year have to do in those staff recognition and staff development lines. I look at those in total. They're both serving the same point, the same purpose. So we'll probably do some adjusting between lines there. And then, we'll talk to Ashley and some of her team to see if there are any other priorities that they have that haven't been accounted for. But as of right now, everything is good. I think we're still waiting. I can't recall if you told me the vending machine is finally here. I know we're starting to fill it, but as of December, we hadn't paid for it yet. So that's your biggest item that is left to pay for out of grant funds. Moving to capital, again, there's a lot of action. You're just not seeing it on this sheet of paper. And that is because, you voted in the designs. They're getting closer and closer to construction. So as we make our way through, you're going to start to see this increase a little bit, at least for Bob Lucas, and then eventually the main library. And we'll probably start breaking it out in a few more categories. I know that the committee meets and is on top of what all the expenses are, but we'll try to provide something in a little more detail for the entire board. But as of next year, we are showing 48% of your revenue, only 7% expended, and 10% expended. But that's to be expected given that timeline. And then the capital fund proceeds does show you it in a little more detail, what has been spent on project management, contractor, architect and design, and a few legal expenses, and shows you what's left of the bond proceeds as well as the grant proceeds, both going toward that project. So you've got nearly 26 million that is invested and just waiting to be spent on that project. Any questions before I move to the balance sheet? Okay, so the balance sheet, I want to spend just a minute on this to point out a couple of lines, because again, I think it'll be important as the board makes decisions about what you may or may not contribute to a capital project to keep that project going. You have a reserve requirement, or what you've set your target to be is 50% of your budget, which is about $2,250,000 roughly. And you've got well over that sitting in cash. So if you look at your class general line 6, there's $2.4 million. So we kind of look at that line as your reserve, because we try not to touch that. And you spend as much as you can from the county. There's a couple of months where you need to get into it a little bit, waiting for property tax collections. But so you're well over the reserve requirement. In addition to that, you can see that the money at the county is up over $2 million. So that's all over technically what you need to have in your unrestricted fund. And the reason that is so high is because we got that first collection And then within days, we move it to class and start spelling it out. It just didn't happen by the end of December. It happened, I believe, maybe the 11th of January is when we got that notice. But regardless, that's only 40% of your property taxes collected. And this is where you're sitting, where your funds are sitting right now. So they advance 40%, you'll get another 40% in the spring, and then they'll give you your final 20% toward the end of the year. So they do layer that out when you're getting the collections. But at the rate that you're going, you're still going to end well above with your reserve. So I think that's where the discussion will be, is how much you feel comfortable digging into this a little bit to contribute, whether it's to the CalPERS liability and or your capital project. And liabilities, if you look at the rest, it's all your, I mean, that's where the excitement is all at the top. You've got your bond proceeds, you have your unrestricted, you have your grant funds, and then everything that's below is pretty minimal. You can see that the property tax receivable is still at 3.3 million, and that's with what you do have in the bank. Of course, this is combined. So this is talking about your general fund. It's also talking about the assessments that you use to make your debt service payments. So this report looks really healthy, but just keep in mind it is combining all of your activities into one. Very minimal liabilities. The big ones that you see are the ones that are, you know, kind of beyond your control, but they're going to change. They're going to fluctuate with the market and depending on how many people have retired and so forth. So that's your pension liability and your post-retirement liability. So those figures fluctuate a little bit, but those are not short-term. That's not money that you need to come up with today. The other thing that I would like to change, I'll talk to Nikki about this moving forward. There's not really been a point to do it, but now that you've got your activities going so many directions, I'd like to just break up that fund balance so that you can see how much of that is restricted versus unrestricted. Because a portion of that is the grant money that you've received. It has to go one place. I want you to be able to really see how much your reserve and your unrestricted is at every point in time. So I'll make that change and recommend that for the next financial statement.
A really good idea.
Any questions on the balance sheet? Or anything that you'd like to see or need information on moving forward? I don't know if it's the next meeting, but we'll be getting into some of the budget discussions or mid-year performance and discussions. I think that's in February.
Yeah, we'll have budget committee on February 8th.
Okay.
With the mid-year budget adjustment. And so we'll bring those to the full board at the February meeting.
When we do mid-year adjustments, is that the point at which we would need to make some kind of determination about OPEB liability payments versus other things, or are we just gonna let that ride a little longer and see what happens with interest rates?
I think we can talk about it.
Yeah.
I do think, we're gonna make a recommendation to pay for the bridge projects
Yeah,
this year.
yeah,
Because Christy and I were saying if we can get it in this fiscal, let's account for it.
right,
If it doesn't get done in time, we can always carry it over in the next fiscal year.
yeah,
But we were thinking that would make sense. But at this point, the recommendation is not to pay down the liability with CalPERS yet. Because it's better off sitting in class as
Right.
long as the interest rate stays so high.
yeah,
But again, like Christy and Cindy Byron, definitely keep an eye on that. So
okay.
I don't know that we'll have a recommendation to pay down.
Yeah, because like we have the money, it's just like, why pay it if it's gonna make more interest
Yeah.
Right.
sitting where it is?
Right. And CalPERS, they're not earning anywhere near, they're not, they're doing better than they were in the past or in the positive, but they're not near the 5.5%, 6% mark.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Thanks, Christy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night. Okay. So according to the agenda, we do not have any standing committee reports. We move on to the Board of Trustees ad hoc committee reports.
Facilities, the only thing I'll say is just if you are available tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., please join us for the CUP hearing by Zoom or in person if you want to come down to downtown LA with us. But my understanding of how it'll go is we'll have the planner will give kind of a presentation about the project and the zoning and all the stuff. I'll make a brief statement. And then it opens up for public comment. So if any of you guys want to make public comment, you absolutely can and say like how great the project is and how excited we are to get it rolling. I know we have a couple of people who have said that they're gonna make public comment as well. So Mark Mariscal, and I know Bridget is planning to zoom in, and I think Veronica Jones is gonna come as well. But yeah, the more of us, the better. So if you can be there, that'd be great. Yes,
And if we are there on Zoom,
yeah.
those bodies get counted as a part of the overall turnout, right? Okay.
You sent out a link for that?
We did send out a link, but I'm sure we can send it out again.
Did you?
I'll forward it again.
Oh, thank you.
Happy to answer any questions, but I mean, we did facilities intensive at board retreat, so I feel like you guys are in the loop on everything.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Kate. Liaison report. Terry gave us a
Oh, I'm
little,
sorry.
a brief report in the packet.
Yeah, it's very brief, and it's just a nudgy little reminder about education and so on. It's good, I guess, to get it out in January so we can all fulfill our resolutions for the year. But if you look at our handbook, we're required every 2 years to get 2 hours of ethics training and 2 hours of sexual harassment training. I know I'm behind on mine a little bit. And there are many, if you haven't been on the CSDA site, there are many topics that come up, but you'll get credit for it. It goes through Catalina. And you keep track of that stuff by county, yeah. So it's definitely worth your time to get involved with that. I just want to remind people to stay current on their education.
Terry, I remember at one point we got like bonus points from SDRMA for doing training stuff.
Yeah, you did. That's a good question.
Is that still true?
It's still true. And you might remember back in September, we talked about it. That's the last time we looked at it. And it actually helped our insurance bill that year. I can't remember by how much. Wait, what?
I know, is that, what does that give us? It
Yeah.
makes the insurance go down?
Yeah, so, yeah.
The amount we pay goes down, yeah.
Yeah, so
Huh.
we have our insurance through the special district, which is like affiliated with California Special District Association. And so the deal is basically like if we do training or continuing ed stuff as trustees, we get little credits for it on our insurance bill. So it's good for us to do not just from a knowledge standpoint, but also to help our premiums.
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
We do get little certificates suitable for framing if you
Ah,
want.
they're fancy.
That all get sent to me for some reason. I don't know why.
And they have to be those trainings on that, through that website,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, not necessarily, I suppose, but on that website, it'd be easier to validate and so on.
Uh-huh.
And if you haven't been to that website for a while, CSDA, California Special District Association, they've got all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And at first you might see that there's a charge with that. But because we are SDRA members as well, most of those charges are waived. So as a trustee, you can get on, press a couple of different buttons, and you'll be able to get a good program for free, basically.
Okay.
If anybody has, challenges accessing that, or you do wanna be able to know how to access that, I can show you, and I can email you information.
Okay,
So in the spirit of tracking the volunteer hours, should we be tracking our hours as well?
Yes, that is another thing we need to collect. So, we will look at the system for being able to do that for the small for trustees. So anytime you're at an event or you're here at a board meeting,
Facilities committee.
Hell yeah.
any meeting that
Push those
you're-
hours.
That's-
119 meetings.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know, Terry. Thank you for bringing that up. I had no idea about the insurance. Okay. We shall move on. We do not have any unfinished business, so we will move to new business. And first up, we have the Bob Lucas RFP for construction inspection and or soils engineering services on-call services, which is an action for us. Who will be reporting on that? the soils and,
Well, I'll introduce Kevin Cloud.
Mhm.
He is one of our attorneys with Chronic, our new law firm. We also have Jennifer Pearson on Zoom tonight, our capital project manager. So I would like to turn it over to them. They're far more familiar with this process, but this is to embark on the bid process for the Bob Lucas project. I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to start us out.
Sure, I'll just give you an overview of why we're doing this. So the idea here is that we will select a pool of qualified inspectors of different types. We may need, depending on what the county requires for each of the projects, we may need a concrete inspector or a masonry inspector or soils inspections, steel, and it will vary between the Bob Lucas and the main library. And we may get some firms that can do all of it, or we may get some that are just, do individual types of inspection. So the idea is that we'll just have a pool of those inspectors that are all qualified. And then depending on what we need at the time for the project, we can go to them and then get quotes from them. They'll already be pre-approved, and then we'll just look at their prices of the various qualified consultants and select from there.
Okay.
So this is just to satisfy county requirements for construction inspection to make sure that everything is being done, according to code.
I have a procedural question. It's not really about this RFP, which I think is fine, but like, as we go through this process for each of those contracts, do we have to bring each of those back to the board one at a time? Like if we need, sorry, I'm looking at you over here. If we need like a concrete thing and then this thing and then that thing, do we have to bring each one of those back for approval, or will this allow us to like pre-approve them functionally and just move the whole thing forward?
Yeah, that's the idea. And what we've done for other consultants, like our hazardous material consultants, we did the same thing with that. We selected a pool of consultants, and knowing that we would need some during planning and design, and then also some later during construction. And when we brought it to the board, we brought it with a expected sort of a maximum dollar amount that we would spend on those consultants. So my thinking was that we would handle it the same way, that we would just bring it to the board one time for approval of those qualified contractors.
All right, so basically in the fiscal impact section, like, I know we've got a budget total, but it was basically a not to exceed, right? And then if we get close to that number, then we'd have to come back and say, whoops, we need an additional $80,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Are there any additional questions about this in first RFP for the construction inspection services? If not, may I have a motion to approve the RFP?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Our next RFP is for library, the Bob Lucas Library Literacy Center construction project. Will someone be speaking on that?
You want to go, Jennifer?
Sure. I think you're all aware that we're going to be building the Bob Lucas Library. As soon as we get our CUP approval tomorrow morning, then the next day we'd like to issue this RFP to select a contractor to actually build the project. If you have any specific sort of questions about the RFP or the contract, I would defer those to Kevin, who's in the room with you. I'm happy to answer anything else.
So I've got a question, Kevin. So I remember when we talked briefly at the retreat, you said, hey, don't worry, the contractor we're gonna put together for construction services to be very friendly to the district. Can you talk about a couple of portions of the contract that you feel like are favorable to the district, or anything that we should kind of be aware of that might differ from a standard contract?
Certainly. Generally, in construction contracts, there's a couple kind of pressure points. One of them would be successful risk management. as between the contractor and the district. That is accomplished through having not just good but great insurance coverage, which you will have on this. Also indemnity provisions. Indemnity is, of course, something goes wrong, a claim is made, who's gonna end up with a financial bag at the end of the day. And so if you're writing the contract correctly, you're requiring the contractor to assume much of the risk. Now, much of that risk is backed up by insurance anyways. One of the things that in any construction contract is absolutely essential is frankly part of both the construction and the insurance industry is additional insured coverage. So what that essentially means is something goes wrong, and even the contractor gets sued on this, as an additional insured, you're still covered, even if they're making a claim of you. Even if you get dragged into litigation in some way, shape, or form, you necessarily shouldn't be, that insurance would cover your expenses as well, but at the contractor's expense. They pay for the insurance that covers you. Make sense? Artfully drafted insurance provisions, making sure that you have things like completed operations coverage, that you limit contribution as amongst various assorted insurance companies, such that your insurance never gets implicated. Theirs is always primary, yours is always secondary, only coming into play if the first insurance policy is completely breached and exhausted. These are some of the risk management things that essentially make it so when something goes wrong, you guys don't end up with the bill at the end of the day. There are layers of protection along the way to make sure that somebody else's bank account is hit, somebody else's insurance is hit, and that you can always point to somebody else and say, no, he agreed to cover this ahead. So what you find in there is fairly robust indemnity provisions, fairly robust insurance provisions. You can see a lot with regards to the minimum requirements, with regards to the verification of insurance even ahead of time. We even provided various assorted forms of insurance just so they can't kind of get out of stuff. What you'll find, for instance, I don't want to get too much into the weeds here, but oftentimes subcontractors and contractors will try to save money when putting in on a contract by having very minimal insurance coverage. They'll have additional insured certificates that essentially say, yes, of course, this is covered every third Sunday during a blue moon, if and when the sun is not cloudy. Things that essentially make it so it's not really complete coverage on these things. And so this is why we provided our own forms on some of these items. The other things that's in there is strong bond protection. There's two forms of bonds that are going to be required on this particular contract. A payment bond and also a performance bond. A payment bond is to make sure everybody gets paid on the project. You get all these subcontractors, your employees out there, various assorted things. They can end up with wage and hour claims, and those can get very, very messy. A payment bond ensures that when those things come up, again, there is a bag of money sitting around such that someone doesn't come after you as the ultimate owner. A performance bond is to ensure actual construction of the project. So for instance, midway through the project, your contractor who's doing a great job suddenly says, well, I've been sued on 5 different other projects and now I'm going bankrupt, so I can't finish your job. So a performance bond would step in at that point in time to fund replacement work for the project. In certain circumstances, one or both of these bonds are actually required by law. The library district is a little bit wild west because of the fact that you're a special district and you don't have a lot of rules required to you. But again, some things you do want to import in there, even though you're not necessarily required to do it because it is so beneficial to the district. And so although payment bonds are oftentimes specifically required by the Public Contracts Code, performance bonds are not. They are absolutely an industry standard with regards to public entities such because it just protects them. Any contractor worth their weight is going to expect it as well. This should not be a surprise when they come onto it, particularly with a project of this magnitude. And what you'll notice if you actually looked at the 2 little bond forms within there is that they're 100% of the project value. These are not small little dinky things and they're not a percentage coverage. They're supposed to essentially make sure the entire thing is buttressed with a great deal of financial backing on some of these things. With regards to the actual process and vetting itself, you probably noticed that we're requiring on the front end a great deal of information from various proposers. What other projects have you worked on? One of the very specific ones that I think is very important for protecting the district is familiarity with the vagaries of LA County construction. Getting it through the permit process, getting it through the regulatory process. We want someone who's fought those battles before, such that we don't end up with somebody who's not familiar in shepherding this process as a contractor on a project of this magnitude is going to have to do a good deal of. And so those kind of things, building into it to begin with, we don't want a beginner, somebody who's doing this kind of thing for the first one time in this area. We want somebody familiar with it, and we want to make sure that financially we're basically encased in our. Yes,
What about, I saw that clause for liquidated damages, I believe in this.
Correct.
So is that just another tool in the incentive to get the work done right and quickly?
correct. And so that's a delay issue right there. So what if they're kind of, we did this wrong, we had to do this over again. We did this wrong, we had to do this over again. At some point in time, you guys should expect to have a fully functioning construction within a reasonable amount that we can forecast ahead of time. I think that's part of the design specs. I think we even have a rough estimate in the documents itself. I believe it was 365 calendar days. But nonetheless, after that kind of stuff, yes, you can put in provisions with regards to liquidated damages shall accrue if they're not making their timelines. One of the things that we're requiring with regards to their information that they're going to put in the proposal is very detailed project schedules, milestones that they're going to hit, when they're expecting to do this kind of stuff. This is again to weed out some of the kind of neophytes on these issues. If they're worth their weight, they should be able to sketch this out in a way that we believe is reasonable, number one, that we'll be able to hold them to, number two, and be able to obviously say, we're not here, we're not there, we need to put on the gas a little bit more, what's the holdup, that kind of stuff. And so we're trying to build in a couple different layers, like I was saying, with regards to that, to kind of hold them to account.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Are there any more questions for Kevin?
I guess my only other question, Kevin, and I appreciate you kind of walking through all those pieces. Could you speak a little bit to the change order section and talk a little bit about how that's structured? And I guess my big question is, what protections, if any, does the district have? And how can we, change orders are inevitable, like they will happen. But what kind of controls are in place to help us keep those costs?
As I recall, we wrote a very broad change order provision dealing with different methods of work that are acceptable under change orders. I think we also built in a review section with regards to the project manager and change orders being approved, not approved, or issued. We may issue change orders, not just ones that are requested, but
Right.
rather we see fit with regards to updating the design, maybe a new law that was passed midway through the project requiring specific measures. That's a very
Right.
specific item that actually comes up a lot. Sometimes that increases the project. Sometimes you don't have a choice with regards to the increased costs on that. It's required by law. And so we tried to draft a provision that gave us as much discretion on those particular points, both from the district's point of view and also from responding to, shall we say, abusive change orders and requests from a contractor. But I can say that that particular provision has gone through several iterations. This will not be its first appearance in a project. And I haven't hit myself over the head and regret yet with it. And so I do think it will function in the manner that you're hoping right there with regards to kind of making for smooth business.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions for Kevin, can we have a motion to approve this
I have
RFP?
one
Yes, go for
Question,
it.
sorry, and this is
No.
not even hardly on the subject, but as I went through there, I was looking for, and I probably missed it, the hours that are allowed for our workers to work. I mean, the quiet enjoyment clauses and everything was that the neighbors can complain about if we got too loud.
I believe it is in there. I know there's one for dust. With regards to construction dust on residential areas and various other sort of things of that nature. Yeah, if it's not in there, it should be in there. If it's not in there, we'll make sure it's in there. But yeah, that should really be in there. Testing my memory right now on the 100-page contract, but yeah.
I might have missed it easily, there was a lot in there, so.
All right.
Sorry.
No, please, don't be. All right, can we have a motion then to approve this RFP for the Bob Lucas Library and Literary Center project?
I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Get her done. Hope everything goes well tomorrow. Yes. Okay. Okay.
That's good, head on Wednesday.
All right.
Yeah.
Next, we have item C, personnel policies update.
That'll
Will you
be,
be presenting? All right.
this will be my one presentation tonight. Thank you to everyone else for covering for me. So a little bit of history in the report. When I first got here, we had to combine 3 different personnel policies because there was a handbook and another thing and another thing. So we did approve that, in 2020. Since that time, we did one other overall update to the personnel policies. More specifically, there were concerns about the attendance and paid leaves of absence policies, which we worked with the staff on last year. Brought those to the board last August, I believe, and had those updated. Those are also included in this overall personnel policy, the 100 pages we presented to you today. I do want to say that almost all of the other updates that you're seeing tonight are pretty much like grammatical. You know, it was like replacing administrative services manager with administration, trying to keep things much more generalized, removing any gender specific wording. We did spend some time on the CFRA under unpaid leaves of absence. It needed to be beefed up a little bit. It wasn't as clear as it should have been. So I worked with Patty. Just so you know, Patty Francisco, our HR consultant, has reviewed all of these ad nauseum as well. So what we're bringing to you tonight, and it is messy and ugly, and we apologize for that. But we've been updating these for about 1.5 years, and depending on who was making the updates, the colors were different. So just so you know, we wanted you to be able to see everything that's changing, depending on whatever color that shows up as. Apologies to Catalina for the nightmare of trying to format this thing.
I cried.
Probably did. It makes us curse Microsoft Word sometimes. But our plan is, once this is approved by you guys, hopefully tonight, we're gonna retype the whole thing and make a clean version of it. It's just not salvageable at this point, we don't think.
Yes.
And between her and I, we will get it retyped and reformatted, and it'll be beautiful and put on our website. But anyway, we did capture all the changes for you. But again, there's not a lot of like real substance. But hoping to answer any questions you might have. But we do think these are the most updated version of these that we can present to the staff.
Questions, team?
No, just this is a lot of work. And thank you for like showing us the red line, because there's no way. Like that, there's no.
And then I had a question. First of all, it looks like a Herculean job, so thanks to everybody that pitched in to get that done. And I just wonder if, especially things that are sort of gender specific and so on, as you work your way through, is there, I'm trying to understand the trend of this sort of thing and how it needs to be done culturally for sure, but also does it sort of temper the outlook in terms of law enforcement and things like that later on? Yeah, I'm not phrasing this question well.
Yeah, I just think we removed any she or he. It's all they or them, you know, so that it's their manager rather than his or her. Because some of the language said his or her in places, and it's just easier to not have specific pronouns that
So
way.
it's strictly just changing the words to make it
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, I'm sure it's just easier than having to have she or he,
Yeah,
you know, and if it's someone that doesn't associate with either pronoun.
or his
Then you're really
slash
covered.
her, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Okay, got it.
So we just removed any of that kind of pronoun language.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions or comments? On the policies updates? Okay, then may I have a motion to approve the policy, personal policy updates?
So moved.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Then,
Been a long time coming.
Yeah.
okay, so our last item under new business is the 2023 operational plan update, which is an informational item. Hello again.
Again, Board of Trustee members, staff, and community. The 2023 ALD operational plan was organized in support of the 3 service priorities that were identified in the 2020 strategic plan. And they remain to be, we are curious, we are connectors, we are neighbors. This plan was reviewed by Danielle Millam, who is a strategic planning consultant. She reviewed them in September of 2022. The management team presented a mid-year update to these goals at the August board meeting. And before you in your board package is the final status of each of these goals. We also included a column that indicates the status of the objectives as well. And just to note some of the things that we were able to complete, we completed the Board of Trustee redistricting, assessment of read local, shop local, extending library material access with the vending machines, identifying locations throughout the community for pop-up and other programs. We developed a homebound services strategy. And we do have a lot of goals that say ongoing, meaning that lots of work has been done on them. You could say they're completed, but they're gonna just continue on. So for example, Project Ready, we did meet all throughout 2023 in our cohorts, and we will continue that work into 2024. We also have some goals that are in progress. So work has been done, but we are not yet complete with that goal. So we continue to work on it in 2024. And then there are some goals that have been completely pushed to 2024, which you have seen in the 2024 operational plan that you have already approved for us. So we look forward to continuing to do this work and hope to report back to you for a mid-year update to the 2024 op plan. Any questions?
I just love being able to see all the green, like,
Mhm.
it's an incredible amount of work,
Yeah.
so it's really cool, congratulations.
Yeah, so sorry, my head hurts, like, I don't understand. Yellow and green in progress but ongoing. They seem to be at odds, I guess. So it's a very weird distinction.
I thought about that too, except for the example that I used, like Project Ready. You could argue that that's in progress, but it feels cleaner to call it ongoing because I think it'll always kind of be there. We will continue to have cohorts as new staff on board. And they're even putting, updates to Project Ready. So like more content continues to be added. So I feel like ongoing is more like something that'll kind of always be there.
Right.
And progress is more like you should see it as a completed green.
Something.
Yes, whereas Project Ready, for example, I'd never really want to see that work completed. I feel like it should keep going and going.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a light green.
Light.
Thank you.
Nice
Thanks,
suggestion.
Ashley.
Yep. All right, so we will move to our next item under governance, which is the 2024 elections ad hoc committee, first meeting date. So at our retreat, we formed an ad hoc committee to, really be, aggressive and proactive about, getting the word out for the 2024 election and making sure that we have full community support. And I believe, Jason, you agreed to chair this meeting, this committee, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, are you changing your mind?
nope.
You look a little pondered. Okay. So I guess we are to discuss when we are going to meet for the first time. When would you like to start?
We could, next week's, I think, is pretty open for me. I know you during the day is no good for you generally during the week, right?
I can swing some time during the day if it's like for an hour here and there. So, yeah, let me know.
And there's no pressure to decide. I put that on as an agenda item, just as a reminder, and also since this, meeting.
It's public.
Yeah, it's live streamed for members of the public.
Yeah.
Be aware that that is.
And it's just,
Mhm.
I will, when I get home to my work calendar.
Yep.
I'll email you
Okay,
for next week.
we'll handle that.
Yeah.
Okay, and we will, yeah. And we want to encourage all of you out there that are listening to take interest in the upcoming election and please consider filing for a seat on this wonderful board.
Do it.
Yes, okay. Then, do we have any correspondence or proposed future agenda items?
There's no correspondence.
Future agenda items? Okay, then may I have a motion for us to adjourn at 6:25?
I move to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I-
Well done, everyone.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
It was nice.